Are you ready?
A Shot of Wrestling, episode 287. And away we go.
Wait till get a shot, boy. Is that the best that you got? We about to go live. Are you ready to rock? So take a shot. Oh, so take a shot. Oh, yeah. I'm a street breaker. I'm a heartbreaker. This is my yard. I'm a Ramon Razor. Rick Flair, Nature Boy, about to seek and destroy. It's an SOW. Let me hear you make yours. Take a shot, boy. Is that the best that you got? We about to go live. Are you ready to rock? So take a shot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Shot of Wrestling. I'm your host, Michael J. Putty. Here we are, the first show of 2022. The first show without Betty White. But not my first show with COVID. Oh, my God. And Mark Schwann's here. Mark, what's going on, buddy? Happy New Year.
You're not going to give me a proper introduction. This is how we're starting off the year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is me, your favorite actor, Mark Schwann.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing this?
Hey,
the microphone's right in front of your mouth, and you're yelling.
Yo.
Back up if you're going to
chill
yell.
out over there.
Back up if you're going to yell.
Chill out. We have a guest here. You're embarrassing me.
I do not do domestic disputes, guys. Could we go to our respective corners?
There we go. Here it is. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't recognize the voice already, then you are clueless. He is the voice himself, Cheyenne Ortiz. What is good, my man?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. Long time coming. Very excited to talk about anything and all things wrestling, maybe some nerd talk. How you guys doing tonight?
Well,
again, I have COVID, so it
Putty
sucks.
started off the show on a bad note.
Well, I'll just break the news. Putty and I are recovering from COVID. So I'm always curious. Did you have it pre-vaccination the way that I did?
No.
So I had it pre-vaccination in April of 2020, and then I had it the day after Christmas. So what were your experiences?
Well, me and Mark had the similar experience back in September, thanks to a fucking dirty Jersey. It was bad. I think Mark had a little worse than I did in certain symptoms. I had the bad cough. Mark felt like he was dying with fevers.
That's right.
And
You told me about this, the karaoke incident.
Yeah. This time around,
incident.
I felt like I'm just getting sick. The symptoms went away. And if they come back, it feels like I'm getting sick. I don't feel sick, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
There was one specific day, it was early on, where I legit felt like I was going to die, and I was vaccinated. It sucked, man. And I found out that I had COVID like pretty much right after I found out that I'm going to be a dad. So I didn't even get a chance to really enjoy that moment and celebrate it. Said
right.
Like I was freaking out, or in fact, oh my God, I have COVID. I was just hugging and kissing my wife. How's that going to affect the baby? Luckily, my baby and my daughter, they didn't get it. Like, we're all good there with that. I recovered. It sucks at Putty. You got it again. Sucks at Shane. You're test negative today, though. As of today, you were good.
I got my first negative test today, so I'm hoping for a second one tomorrow.
There we go. Because allegedly, you could still test positive up to 90 days after getting COVID. Apparently,
that's what they told me. Yeah,
after 90 days, because I tested positive yesterday.
Wow.
I tested positive yesterday on a rapid. So today I was able to get a PCR and I was able to get same day results. And at about 7:30 is when they hit me with the results. So I'm pleased. And to be fair, I still got some aches, but this is the most normal I've felt in 2 weeks.
Wow.
You seem good, man. You seem good. You both seem good. Actually, Putty, I was saying beforehand. Yeah. Last time we did a show together, we both had COVID. I mean, I'm not saying I looked like $1 million, but you looked like shit. Yeah. But here you look good. You look like your normal self.
Yeah, I feel pretty good right now. Like this morning wasn't that great. I did a lot of shoveling to do. So later on I felt weak, but right now I'm doing pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. If you're not overexerting if you can like truly relax, it really is a big help.
And what sucks was I found out I was in contact with somebody who had COVID. So I went, the place I get tested you can't get an appointment anywhere. So a coworker of mine told me about this pop-up tent by my house. So I went there, but you had to do it yourself. I'm like, all right, this is weird. I was negative. And then Tuesday I started feeling sick. I went to the store. I got a bunch of at-home tests. And every time I took one, it came back negative. I went through a drive-through PCR place. Again, I had to do it myself. Everything came back negative. Thursday, I was ready to go back to work. I'm like, all right, I felt okay. And I just did one before I left for work. I was ready to go to do one randomly, and it came back positive. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, no way.
So I went to the urgent care to get one professionally done, and positive, yeah. They say if you can get a false negative on the at-home rapid tests, but if it says positive, more likely you're positive. There's no false
Right.
positives. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's another reason why I try to let a professional do it, because ultimately we are not all doctors and nurses and health professionals. We're looking for answers just like everybody else. So why am I going to jab, this giant thing up the back of my nose?
Yep.
I'd much rather. Do I like standing in line for it? Hell no. But I'd much rather have somebody else do it. Even if I had like a girlfriend or a family member do it, hell no. I want a health professional to molest my nose.
Hell yeah.
No, exactly. I remember when I got the kit initially, I had a party to go to actually that day. I was feeling like shit. I thought I was just like run down from Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, something feels dramatically off. So I got the thing at CVS, and I remember, dude, I sucked at science. I especially like, well, I shouldn't even say especially, all forms of science I really sucked at. So I felt like I was back in like science class in high school, like the lab, like reading the thing. But at the same time, I'm freaking out because I have somewhere to be. I might have COVID, so I'm not reading this right. Like I felt like I was fucking up left and right. And you only get 2 tries. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'll just wait online. I'll have a professional do it, as you guys said. And thank God I did, man.
Yeah.
No joke.
I mean, the worst part about it was, I kid you not, from the 17th or the 18th to the 23rd, I was getting tested 1 to 3 times every other day because I continuously kept getting exposed at wrestling shows.
Yeah.
I got exposed going to see Spider-Man. I got exposed at work. Like, there were all these red flags. And then on the 23rd alone, I took 3 tests that day, a rapid and 2 PCRs. I got the call the day after Christmas. I came back negative on the rapid, positive on both PCRs. How's that?
Damn.
Well, that's what they say. The PCR is more in depth.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're positive on PCR,
so I found out the day after Christmas, and the end of my year sucked.
Yeah.
And yeah, and here we are today, rock and roll. And thanks to the CDC, I had to go back to work this past week. So.
Oh my God. Well, luckily you guys are okay here. Other than COVID, Cheyenne, let's get to know you a little bit more here. Let the audience get to know you a little bit more here. So, you do commentary like us.
Well, I'm a Libra, and I enjoy long walks on the beach.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I make a tasty homemade guacamole.
Oh, ladies.
Well, you said get to know you. I was hoping in that perspective, but no. Go ahead. What do you got?
No. I was saying you do commentary like us. You were supposed to do commentary for BCW Queen of the North 3, January 21st. Unfortunately, for those that are not in the know yet, that show has been postponed to March 19th. Still happening. The matches are not set in stone yet. We're hoping that most of the talent will come back. Of course, cards are subject to change, so we'll see what happens there. Cheyenne, though, let's get the scoop right now. Are you still going to be doing commentary for that date? What's going on?
As of right now, the date is open. I tell everybody the same thing, including Anthony Cole. As long as my home fed is not running that day, I'll be there.
Respect that.
First dibs on all of my dates. And basically, as long as they're not running, I'll be there. The biggest bummer for me is I was going to BCW shows when they first started at the Elks in Queens.
Right.
And I kid you not, people might make fun of this. I've been trying to get booked on BCW since 2016.
Oh, wow.
So
this would have been your first time ever doing commentary for BCW?
Oh, and on a lot of the 2016 and 17 shows I was at, and this would have been my first time on headset, and I was going to do commentary with Vita Scott as my color commentator.
That's right. Vita Scott, BCW did not get a chance to make that official announcement yet before we had to cancel here.
Yeah.
Vita Scott, that would have been awesome. Vita Scott, I know AJ Pan probably was going to get on commentary too. It would have been a good tandem, man. Would have been a very good tandem there.
Yeah. So, but as long as my home fed is not running the same date, I'm there. This is the first time in a long time that I wanted to be on a show, because I've been trying to get with BCW for a couple of years, and for various reasons, it just didn't work out. And the opportunity came for this, and it's Queen of the North. Like, this is their premier event. No offense to the guys. Like, this is their premier event at BCW. So to be a part of it was a real thrill for me. I love being at marquee match cards, and I love calling wrestling.
And no joke, man, like that card was stacked.
Yeah, and I want to make a statement right now. it didn't matter to me. Obviously, it's Queen of the North. It's a women's-based show. Like, I don't care about men's wrestling, women's wrestling. I love calling wrestling.
There you go. Preach.
I'm not a firm believer that women's wrestling is lower or men's wrestling is superior or this or that. Wrestling is wrestling. If you're good, you're good. And I love putting the words to great stories. So I'm hoping that I really could be a part of this one.
You know, dude, I have to say, doing commentary ourselves, I am so jealous. I am so jealous of you, the fact that you're going to get the chance to do commentary for this, because it is a great card. I am totally with you. It doesn't necessarily matter, man, woman, trans. I don't necessarily care who's in the ring. All we care about is good wrestling. But I have to say, man, within the last couple of years now, the women have consistently, I feel like, been outworking the guys. And
absolutely,
I've been saying that because I think they're hungrier. I think they're a lot hungrier.
Well, I tell you, obviously, women's wrestling has continuously been hot since 2015, right? But it has been really hot on the indies since 2018. So
facts.
Now, 2018, you have the opening of AEW. Women's wrestlers are hungry for their goals. So they're hungry for exposure. They're hungry to get better. They're hungry for a litany of reasons. And, you know, now what it was before, I remember getting into the wrestling business, the concept of there's so many wrestlers and then WWE and Impact only hires but so many. Well, now check out how many women's wrestlers there are.
I know, man.
And women's wrestling is the only market that you can never say is oversaturated. That's like the hardest part of it for them.
Right. And it's just so many. Like the fact that, like, I love the fact that Impact has been making signings like Mercedes Martinez, Masha Slamovich, Lady Frost. Like, that division is stacked. Like, the Knockouts division is, I think, the best women's division out there.
Yeah, for 2022, excuse me, you're going to see a resurgence over at Impact for sure.
Oh, totally. But, like, then you look at AEW, and for when it first started off, like, you know, people would easily say, like, the women's division was the weakest division there, but they've really formed a good bond and great chemistry over there. They've really built themselves up to contenders. And then, of course, you know, you have the staple WWE women. Charlotte Flair is just Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch, phenomenal. Like, the list goes on for the talent over there in WWE. It's just so many. Then you have the unsigned talent as well, like in indies, just crushing it all around. Like, I feel like women wrestling, dude, it is phenomenal right now.
It really
and no
is.
discredit to the men, but seriously, like, they're just so damn good.
No, 110%. And I think there were things that what AEW didn't have in the women's division, WWE had. What those two didn't have, Impact had. And, you know, every division has their niches. Not everyone is perfect, you know. So I'm really looking forward to what women's wrestling is going to do. I think AEW is also about to go to a zenith as well, because I think you're seeing the women's division balance out better.
Well said. Yeah, especially now with the emergence now of the TBS title that Jade Cargill just won. We'll probably get into that later. But, you know, having a mid-card championship for a women's division, I think, is a game changer. That's something I've been advocating for WWE to do for the longest time. The tag titles aren't really doing anything for that division. I'm glad AEW took that step, and I'm curious to see how that goes. But to get Putty involved in the conversation here, because I know he feels like a third wheel, you guys have a little bit of something in common. Wrestling action figures.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
We saw a little bit of that collection there, dude. Tell us about that.
I'm gonna turn it a bit. So, Putty, what do you collect and what do you have? Because I'm willing to do some on-air trades, brother.
See, I don't know why Mark said I don't really collect. I'm not a collector. I like to buy them. Right?
You have a bunch.
So I have a bunch, and I just bought them not to collect them. I bought them to have. If that makes sense. And so I bought a bunch of the what's Unmatched Fury line.
Oh, that's a great line.
So I have them. I took them out of the box. I displayed them for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that line I have, and I have a couple. See that you have the same ones. I forgot the name of them offhand. I have a couple of WrestleMania moments.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple of those. But I've taken mine out of the box. I think I have Trish Stratus and Teddy DiBiase still in box. And so when I took those Funko Pops, I took all of them out of the box. And then I realized maybe I shouldn't be taking them out of the box. So I have a couple still in box. And I feel like a stupid idiot taking everything out of the box now. 'Cause I think it loses its
I'll
value.
tell you what,
Loses its value when you take it out of the
what,
box.
for the unmatched Furies, you were better off keeping them in the box value-wise, but I tell you, they look amazing displayed.
Oh yeah, so I took them out. I'm like, I took them all out, beautifully displayed, and I'm like, well, maybe I should not have taken them out of the box. Yeah, because the box you can open up the window. I'm like, now I feel like an idiot taking them out of the box. I can go back.
But I have to say though, the collection you have though, Putty, I've been to your place a few times. Like you have a good setup, man. It looks cool.
It's small, but yeah, it's decent.
Yeah, I mean, Cheyenne, I saw what you have, but a glimpse of what you have. Like, yeah, it's nothing compared.
Yeah, I have a couple of shelves. I have a couple of shelves in my bookcase of the Unmatched Fury and the Funko Pops. But you, Cheyenne, have a whole wall of Funko Pops. I've noticed.
Well, it doesn't do it justice because this is audio. It's not finished. It's close to being finished. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the month, but I'll move the camera real quick. So I'm going to start from in front of me. So I have a Batman section.
Perfect. So do I. Awesome.
I'm sure Nikos Ricos would love that.
Because I'm a big Batman guy, and I'm a big Nikos Ricos fan, and I didn't know he was a Batman guy. I know he's a collector too, so now I got to bust his balls about that.
Yeah, you're Batman guy and collector.
This is a little Batman section I got here, and then I'm going to start with my 16-foot long shelf. Oh, good. Wow. I can use the view.
Wow, look at that. For everyone that they can't see here, Cheyenne's doing like basically he's doing a panoramic view here of his room.
Yeah. So basically,
it's all around.
Shelf. And for those of you that collect, it starts with the Jack's Classics line. There is 4 in each row. There's some exclusives. There's some signed ones. There's some 1 of 3,000 in there. I have signed figures from Demolition, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and so forth. At the end there are the Target Legends Elite figures.
Wow.
That you don't see in Manhattan very often, which makes me and my eBay credit card bill extremely funny. Those are my Funko Pops. They're in the box.
There's a wall, guys. There's a wall here, Funko Pops.
Yeah, there's about, this section alone is about 80-something.
Are they all wrestling ones or other ones too?
No, they're mixed. It's predominantly wrestling. It's wrestling, Batman, and then mixed media, as I call it. So I got my Ghostbusters in there. I got Duck Dodgers because I love Duck Dodgers. Coca-Cola's in there because I'm a big Coca-Cola guy. Alex Trebek, Bob Ross is in there, so I can stay sane.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have a Rob Schamberger painting on each end of the wall.
That's nice.
With their respective titles. I have some replica belts here that I won in raffles. I'm not a belt guy, but I have been blessed to win replica belts of every belt that I love in wrestling. So I have the Raw tag titles from the Ruthless Aggression era.
Oh, wow.
I have a WCW 91 to 93 heavyweight title over there.
Oh, wow.
Huh. Oh, shit. Old school.
And then I have the WCW Cruiserweight title from the Monday Night Wars, not the OG one from the Brian Pillman Liger days. And then here, that's kind of sort of, I guess we could call it my studio. There's my green screen, my television, and all my equipment. There's more Funko Pops up there. Those are my most prized ones with signings and the ones worth the most money.
Which one is worth the most? Not to put you in the spot.
I have two. One I'll say on air because if I say the other one, someone's gonna find out where I live, and it will probably be a friend of mine. But I have the Ric Flair 2K, whatever that was, 18 Funko Pop. They did a thing with the video game and the Funko Pop.
I got that one too.
And
that's worth money.
Oh yeah, is it? You got yours in the box?
Yeah, I never took that one out.
Yeah, keep that one in the box.
Okay. Or here first.
Putty, your eyes just lit up like Christmas.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, without it being signed, about 2 something.
Really? Wow. Okay. Now we're talking.
And then the other one I have is, I can't retire, but it's up there.
Well, all right, awesome.
Wow.
And then I have 2 books with figures. I have the Defining Moments line. I have the Ultimate Edition line. I have exclusive figures. I have Ringside Collectibles figures.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I am not a collector. I'll state that. I had action figures back in the day, and my parents threw that shit out. It still hurts, but they would have been worth a lot of money. But you're a collector. Do you intend on like trading this in for cash down the line? Does it accumulate value over time, like bonds, if you will? Like how does this work?
So yes, I have action figures here that are in fact older than my nieces and nephews.
Nice.
And how old are they?
I have action figures. I started collecting when I was 13 years old, and I'm 31.
Wow.
Okay. Respect. Okay.
And some of these figures are in fact older than them. And do the math. I bought an action figure possibly at that time at $14.99, and even if they're only worth $55,
still good ROI,
right? So at the time I bought it, not knowing that I would have this many. I never thought I would have this many. I'm very blessed. At the time when I got into figures, I just bought the ones I wanted. I bought them to have them. And then it just kind of evolved. And believe it or not, I let a lot of action figures go because I had shit jobs for a lot of years. So
you were able to trade that in for money at that point?
Yeah. So there were some that I had to let go and sell for money, bills, and life happens. Another thing, too, as I got into this, I realized that there are a lot of collectors. We talked about this earlier, especially those that buy ring-worn gear. They'll buy things as trade bait, or they'll buy two of something as trade bait. So they'll say, I'm going to buy these two Ric Flair action figures. I'm going to keep one, and I'm going to keep this spare one so that I can get the Ultimate Warrior figure that I really, really want.
That's smart. That's kind of like what Matt Cardona probably does.
I know Cardona has traded some doubles, same with Brian Myers. But to give you an example, I have 3 Ric Flair figures. They're the exact same figure. They're each worth about $175 a piece.
Wow.
What the
right?
fuck?
So there's the cash, so do the cash value on that, 175 times 3. But if I wanted to trade them for a different figure that I'm missing, absolutely I could.
Interesting. That is so fascinating.
There's a whole world to this that we can spend hours talking about.
Yeah, no, and I know I sound like a lot, but that's minuscule compared to the world itself. But a lot of people will buy something as what it's called trade bait, and that's more so for like ring-worn gear. When it comes to figures and Funkos, there's people that buy and sell and actually make a living off of it. God bless them. And there's people that, they buy it and, it's to sell one or to flip it or to trade it down the line. Yeah.
So this is your crypto right here, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I will say this, and anybody who knows me has heard me say this 1,000 times. This is my 401k. Yeah. I'm a little Puerto Rican kid from the Lower East Side, just like Santana and Ortiz. I'm very blessed. I have a great job now. I have great benefits. So this was my savings fund.
Wow,
that's so cool. When did you know that?
And it still is.
When did you know? Like, maybe I shouldn't take these out of the box. Maybe I should milk this for what it's worth, cash wise.
I didn't know about the fight. I started at 13. The first one I bought was the Ric Flair Jax Classics figure, Series 2.
I actually think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
it's in this beautiful black and gold box, and it looks like a collector's item. It didn't look like an action figure I'd seen before. Yes. When you were buying action figures in the 90s, they looked like they were meant to be played with. They looked like they were meant to be abused and opened and beat to shit.
Yep.
This looked like a collector's item. It blew my mind. Plot twist. Ric Flair's my favorite wrestler ever. I had to open it, right? Because it was an 80s Ric Flair figure. Mm. So I actually God bless her. My mom went back and bought me a second one.
Oh, wow.
No way.
Because I specifically said, looking at the box over and over again, I didn't throw the box away for like a week, that I wanted another one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then as I continued to buy that specific line, I never opened an action figure again from like 13 until like...
Yeah, I wish I knew about that. I regret so many. 21. I regret opening so much stuff. A couple years ago, I was going to... a friend took me to Comic-Con. And as a kid, I was a big Power Rangers fan. So I had all the toys, played with them, beat them up, took them out, whatever. And I see all the toys I had as a kid in a booth going for triple digits. I'm like, damn, if I get a time machine and go back in time, tell myself, don't fucking open those things. That could be a fucking savings account.
If I could go to a time machine and go to a KB's Toys in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Oh, KB Toys, dude.
I don't know if I'd be Tony Khan or Vince McMahon, but I could have my own small little Fed for sure.
How are those Hasbro ones from back in the 90s? Are those worth anything at all? Like in the box?
Yeah, I know people that bought them in the 90s when they were my age. Now, back then, at $5 a shot.
Yeah.
And I know people that have thousands of dollars off of them.
Shut the fuck up, dude. Are you serious? I'm an idiot, kid. I had to play with them.
I give an example. I'm gonna get fucking mugged because of this podcast, but it'll be a fun mugging. I have, so I don't. This will bring you back. I don't have the Warlord. I'm sorry, but I do have this.
Oh, dude, wait, that one's worth. I had that one.
So it's not the treasured Purple Heart one, but this is a Bret Hart mint on card Hasbro.
Nice.
Mock means mint on card for those who don't collect or don't know. It's probably a 7 out of 10 because it's got a little dent at the top, but it's the red card at Hasbro. It's very hard to find because it's towards the end of the line. And like there's barely anything wrong with it at the bottom of the card. There's a really mild bubble lift. And it's signed, right? $300 ballpark.
Wow.
And I'm probably, depending on who looks at it, they might tell you, oh, you're crazy, that's too much or too little, but that actually I might say it's too little. About $300 here.
Wow.
What the fuck? Because yeah, those things were like $5 back in the day.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's worth what somebody will pay for it. That's
Sure.
the other thing about collecting that people always rule out.
It's kind of like, is it kind of like pawn shop, if you will?
Yeah, it's worth what, if I come in there and tell Rick I want 300 for it, well, he's going to want to try to get it for 200 or maybe even 175.
Those scumbags.
So yeah, I've got tons of stuff here. That's the other thing too about when I buy. I'm such a pain in the ass when I buy stuff because I know what it's worth. I know what it costs. So when I see somebody try to get a premium out of it, a profit, I'm like, no, that's okay, cool. I'm good. Because if I know it's worth 300, yo, right fucking now, I'll pull out 300. But if you're charging me 5, no, thank you. I'm not hungry.
So you gotta do your homework, man. It's kind of like NFTs. You gotta know what you're talking about. Otherwise,
NFTs,
you get fucked.
I know shit about. I try to get into it. I took a mild course. I'm starting to get into crypto, but NFTs, I don't know shit.
Dude, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. I listen to him a lot. He talks about NFTs. I'm just like, what? Like I try to listen. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying here, man. Like this is. So yeah, if you don't know, you don't invest. That's the old golden rule of investing. If you don't know what the fuck you're investing into, you stay away. I'll stick to stocks and that's it.
This I know. Even my stock portfolio. I don't have a lot of money in there, but the stuff I've invested in is the stuff I know about.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're doing pretty well over here. Dude, I found this absolutely fascinating. Putty, as you said before, I'm sure this could be a whole podcast in itself talking about this, but we do have a show to run here, right?
This is a wrestling.
That's true. We could talk about wrestling and other stuff at a later date. But ask me whatever you want about wrestling. I'm all about it.
Mark, what's trending this week?
All right, Putty. Well, WWE is at it again. It's winter cleaning, my man. So, going on to what's trending here, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com at Sean Ross Sapp. William Regal has been let go from the company. WWE has confirmed to Fightful. That one was truly shocking. It sent shockwaves all throughout the wrestling industry, not just WWE, but to the indies, to Impact, to AEW, all around. Everyone in the wrestling world was shocked and devastated by this. Johnny Gargano actually had a nice tweet here with a picture of him and Regal. If it wasn't for William Regal, a lot of your favorite guys wouldn't be on television. He got so many of us indie guys an opportunity. He will never take credit for that, but he deserves his flowers for helping and molding this generation of wrestlers. Hashtag thank you, Regal. Beautifully said, honestly. Fans also feeling this as well. Wrestling Jeebus at Wrestling Jeebus. Imagine firing William Regal, a brilliant mind with 40 years of experience in the industry. Madness. So lots of feelings going on around about this, about William Regal himself. Let's talk about this before we get into some of the other ones. Guys, William Regal, that's someone that I never thought would leave NXT because he's, as Johnny Gargano said, has helped so many people. Bailey tweeted something out as well about like what he did, also with the 4 Horsewomen. So many people like owe their careers to William Regal. I've talked to people from BCW in the Indies that they had to try out at WWE that said the same thing about the advice that Regal gave. You guys, thoughts on this?
Buddy, I'll let you go first on this one.
It's a mixed bag. Truly, it's not surprised. There's no room for William Regal in 2.0. But behind the scenes, he could still have been a coach. He still could have been a mentor. I know he was helping a lot of guys with, I think what Johnny Gargano mentioned, the promo classes. Mm. What he knows about this business is very beneficial, and I'm surprised it gave him the total boot. Because, he wasn't coming back to NXT. There's no room for him there. Yeah. I understand that. But in the Performance Center, he could provide a lot. So I'm surprised they gave him the boot. I read somewhere that these rounds of cuts, William Regal specifically, Danny Burch, Road Dogg, and they have admitted to this, a direct shot at Triple H. They're letting his guys go.
Yeah, so about to get into that too. Cheyenne, let me hear your thoughts about William Regal specifically before we move on talking about what Putty's talking about here.
I was exceptionally shocked. I really was. That was something I didn't see coming because William Regal was becoming not just a foundation pillar of NXT, but he was a pitching pole for the WWE, and he was a guy that was out there in the indies. I can remember people that I knew that got hired for NXT in 2014 and 15. And when they would come down to visit, they would say, yeah, Regal tells me all the time, if you have someone you want me to watch, let me know. And if nothing else, I'll watch their stuff, and Regal would say all the time, I can tell if somebody's a good wrestler in less than 3 minutes, but that's not what I'm looking for. He also had that Triple H ethos because he knew that it was more than just being a mat wrestler because Regal himself was very, very entertaining, which is something that isn't talked about often. But that was somebody. And just last week, Jim Ross on his podcast was calling Regal a lifer and was putting him over. Yeah. And was saying that he has a job for life in WWE.
It's like Nick Khan or Vince McMahon was listening to that. Like, oh, well, we got to give him the axe now.
And to be fair, Regal was also a Vince McMahon guy for a lot of years. So that always made me think he was safe also because he was kind of on good terms with both camps, I guess, if we could label it that way. But I was shocked and I'm sad. But if I had to guess, he'll have a job somewhere else.
So easily.
If he wants it. I mean, the man has put so many years into this business, not even just talking about with WWE, but, back with WCW and whatnot. There's so many years dedicated to wrestling. For all we know, he might want to take a break. This might be it for him. But if he does want a job, for sure, he absolutely has one anywhere he wants one. But you know what? We talk about Road Dogg. We talk
quickly, quickly before we move on. Maybe he got released from his current WWE NXT contract, right? Again, he is one of the best minds in this business, especially talent scout-wise. I think one of you just mentioned it. So the new Next in Line program where they go into the collegiate levels and try to scout people from the college levels. I'm hoping he gets maybe rehired in some capacity as a scout. Maybe he was released from like his current position, but someone rehires him as a scout because I think that would suit him better now.
Yeah. I mean, one would have to think it's a big gaping hole. Like, who would fill that hole?
Scout would fill in.
Well, it's funny because he filled it for Jerry Briscoe, and a lot of people felt that with Jerry Briscoe not being the scout, there would be this big gaping hole, and then Regal ultimately took that role of the scout, and Regal was doing it on the indies at Evolve, in the UK, XYZ. So, I also feel as if he'd be great as a scout as well.
But who's even left at this point back there? Because now Samoa Joe, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, again, that's Sean Ross Sapp. Samoa Joe has been released by WWE. Fightful has confirmed with the company. More details to come on FightfulSelect.com this evening. Samoa Joe is another guy on camera, backstage, big influence back there. Fired, rehired. Like, I feel like who else was let go? As you mentioned, Thatcher, Gabe was let go as well from Evolve.
Scott Armstrong.
There's just so many people. Like, who else is there?
I don't know if you can count him. No, you can't say PS. You can't say Hayes because Hayes is all over on all three brands.
Yeah.
And he was more during the infancy of NXT as well in 2012 and such. But I guess the only guy left, right? Matt Bloom,
Shawn Michaels. Only two guys left.
Matt Bloom, Shawn Michaels. Well, you can't. Not that you can't count Shawn Michaels, but
he's Triple H guy.
It took them a while to get Shawn to come down.
Yeah, but he's a Triple H guy,
right?
And they seem to be targeting Triple H's guy. Samoa Joe was rehired because Triple H fought for him just to be involved in NXT.
Matt Bloom. I mean, Robbie Brookside is still down there.
So I'm glad you're talking about Triple H, Putty. So let's get into this. Alex McCarthy at AlexM_TalkSport. Triple H was the man to bring Samoa Joe back. He found a role for him in his system/brand. That has since been changed in the eyes of Vince McMahon. That's the long and short of it, I think. Hope to see Joe wrestle again, talking about Samoa Joe. But then we see Wrestling News at Wrestling News Co. people in WWE are reportedly sad, angry, and wondering what is next after Triple H's hires were released.
Yep.
A lot of people are wondering that. But then Cultaholic Wrestling, bringing to your point, bringing it home here at Cultaholic, a report has revealed that the recent NXT releases were done to remove Triple H hires. So as you talk about direct shots to Triple H, and even the fact that on NXT this past week, we saw Braun Breaker, pretty much a direct shot at Triple H, kicking over the old NXT logo.
Didn't kick it over.
Some are saying like there's a more direct shot, kick through it. More of a direct shot at Triple H than it was when Cody Rhodes smashed the throne with a sledgehammer at AEW. What do you guys think about this?
And her also, it was a surprise to many people backstage. Nobody saw that coming. I don't understand why.
Even Braun Breaker didn't know that was going to happen.
Why are we attacking Triple H here? Again, I know the buck stops at Vince, but this is all Nick Khan's doing. But I just understand Triple H did a great job. I understand you want to rebrand it, give it a new feel, refresh it. Fine, that's totally understandable. But why go over the guy who created it? Triple H's NXT was his baby. Why?
They're just destroying him.
Is this a personal?
If that's the case.
Is there any animosity between him and Nick Khan that we don't know about? I don't understand why you're letting the Road Dogg go.
Is he pissed about the ratings between NXT and AEW and the Wednesday Night Wars?
That can't be. It's too far gone.
Well, the Wednesday Night Wars, you got to understand something. In that, a buddy of mine brought this up. It's a double-edged sword because if he loses, ultimately it makes NXT inferior and it makes them look bad. If he beats AEW in the Wars and he ends up getting a Raw or a SmackDown rating, it's like, oh, wait a minute. We told you to beat AEW. We didn't tell you to beat Raw and SmackDown.
So he was in a lose-lose situation then.
That's what I feel like when I heard that. And then you got to keep in mind, is it a shot at Triple H or is it a shot at the brand? Is it a shot at that is dead? Black and gold is no more. There's a lot of ways you could look at it. Some will say, no, it's at Triple H. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I don't know the guy. I would love to, obviously, like everybody else as a commentator, call a WrestleMania one day, call a big show. I'd love to be there. But from a lot of these released talents, I haven't heard a good thing said about Nick Khan.
No, neither have I.
No, not at all. It seems like Nick Khan doesn't even really know much about the wrestling industry in itself. He's just so much of a numbers guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Khan goes, hey, dude, Vince, honestly, I'm costing too much right now. You might want to release me. Like, the dude is just out of his – there's no emotion into this at all. Like, it's insane to see. Like, is anyone safe? Could Triple H be next even?
I don't
see Stephanie McMahon? Like,
no, that's Stephanie.
Where does
I can see if Tony Khan's fully in charge and they're going after Triple H like they are, I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H gets released. Not at all.
Would Triple H want to just flat out go even?
Well, now, because remember, we talked about him, I don't know if before your time here on the show, but we talked about it on the show. Presumably, next in line when Vince goes was Triple H. Not Shane, Triple H. That was a big controversy back a couple years ago. But now, next in line is going to be Tony Khan. He's the one who's going to take over.
Nick Khan.
Thank you. Nick, do it all the time. Nick Khan's going to want to take over. So where does that leave Triple H, especially all these attacks against him? So
where does that leave wrestling in general if Nick Khan takes over? Like, I can't see that being well. Not even just talking WWE. That can't be good for wrestling.
Nick Khan takes over for the family. He'll sell it. He's fine.
You know, it's funny. I was at a point where I remember I was at a point in my life where I couldn't imagine wrestling without Vince McMahon.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't imagine Vince McMahon without wrestling. Say whatever you want. And now I'm at a point where it's like, you can say whatever you want about the WWE and their product, negative, positive, but I'm going to be a total honest person. I don't want to see a world without Vince McMahon.
I mean,
yeah, of course
I was saying the same about, I don't want to see a world without Betty White. I don't want to see a world without Sidney Poitier. I mean, eventually we're going to see a world without Vince McMahon.
Sidney Poitier.
Go ahead, say.
Aren't you French too? Aren't you half French?
I have the worst excuse for French possible. But, you know, like, we are going to live in a world where Vince McMahon is no longer around, one way or another. I think Vince McMahon is going to die in his office doing what he loves here.
Oh, he'll be mummified.
Yeah.
He'll be mummified. It's just a matter of then, like, who takes over next. And it seems like, Nick Khan.
So where's the line, man? Where's the Triple H? Take care, comb your hair.
And, like, yeah, people can say what they will about WWE right now. And honestly, I've said a lot about WWE before in the past. Like, you know, these releases, they're disheartening. The product, a lot of it kind of feels stale. But, Vince McMahon did create wrestling, and the modern day wrestling that we know and love today. He helped mold that, shape that into what it is. WWE is still, whether you like it or not, the big dog on the block here. It's the number one show in the wrestling world. So there would be a trickle-down effect here. If WWE folds, if it fails, AEW is going to feel it. Impact's going to feel it. MLW is going to feel it. The Indies will feel it. We'll all feel it.
Yep.
So that's why I feel like this is so important to watch right now. Whether you swear, I'm canceling WWE Network, I'm canceling Peacock, stop. Like, right. This is important.
And it's funny you bring up canceling. Lance Storm years ago said, if you really want to show WWE what you think about their product, you stop watching it.
Yep.
You don't watch it and then go on Twitter and then bash it. But now, all of wrestling has all types of competition. Because instead of watching SmackDown tonight, I could have read a book.
True.
Or I could have watched, a sitcom that airs on Fridays. Or I could have done a podcast. Or, like, everything is competition. I don't think this whole war with any company, with any Fed, is indicative necessarily of liking and disliking. I think we're in an era where there's more than one option than television.
Well, I think it was Vince McMahon. It was either Vince McMahon or it may have been Triple H. Some representative of WWE a few years ago did say that not even just MMA at that point, because MMA was hot, UFC was hot before AEW, but they were talking about like all forms of entertainment they view as competition, and rightfully so. That was starting to be the rise of streaming, Netflix and whatnot. It was at that point. And, rightfully so, because they are World Wrestling Entertainment. They stress entertainment. They're sports entertainers. And if you look at Raw, Raw for God knows how long now has been a variety show, if you will.
Yeah.
It's been like an SNL for wrestling. So, that's a smart business move to make, to view all forms of entertainment as your competition, not just wrestling.
But that's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of fans don't understand. That's what wrestling's been for so many years. Guys, let's just focus on WWE because you can't compare WCW to it. Go back to Saturday Night's Main Event was a variety show. You got your matches, your backstage interviews, and your vignettes and your segments. So if you were channel flipping and you didn't know wrestling and you put Saturday Night's Main Event on, but you saw those vignettes for Rick the Model Martel, you thought they were commercials.
Yeah, true
Tuesday
story.
Night Fight was a talk show that barely aired matches. Ken Patera, Andre, they were breaking things on the show, and you were like, oh, this guy is a wrestler, and he's breaking, weights and lifting up cars and stuff like that. Look at Raw. Guys, if you look at the Attitude Era is a 2-hour variety show.
Well written variety. It was like Mad TV, if you will.
Yeah, so, that's what wrestling's always been, And then I guess you mentioned well written. I guess it comes down to the writing, and some weeks it resonates and some weeks it doesn't.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I felt that way about SNL for the last few years, too. Like, the writing's just not there for me. It'll be a hit or miss.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I saw killing it these couple of years.
Oh, dude, for real, the last few years, man, it's just
I'm loving
it just hasn't been resonating.
I gotta say, was that last one, SNL 40? That last big one?
The huge one that was 4 years ago. But yeah.
Was that SNL 40 where they had Eddie Murphy come back and everything?
Well, for the first time, he hosted the Christmas show for 2020 or 2019.
Right, 2019. So, my opinion, SNL, I think since the 40th anniversary, they've been killing it. Yeah. And if you look at the last 2 months of 2019, it was fucking home runs.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Interesting, because honestly, I remember I was paying attention a little bit more because I'm a little political. I always love SNL when I think they do the debate so well during the elections.
Oh yeah, that's their highlight.
And I love that.
The ratings go for
and I just felt like it was. I feel like it was just so over the top this year, unless maybe the fact that the real thing was just so ridiculous as well that it was probably better.
That's true. Yeah.
That how do you do satire in this?
Yeah, because a lot of people thought the actual debates were the skit, and SNL bits were the real debate.
Yeah, maybe I could give them a pass in that. I don't know. I feel like me personally. I'm gonna talk about SNL right now, but I feel like SNL has been more misses than hits for me. within these last few years, and that's what I've been feeling about Raw. I mean, again, this is my own personal opinion, but Raw, to tie that in together.
I think Raw, you're the majority. SNL, you're the minority.
Maybe.
I think Buddy's got a point on that.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I didn't hear you. Can you say that again, please?
I think Putty's got you right on that.
Thank you.
I mean, 2 against 1 right now. So,
I mean, SNL is one of my favorite shows of all time since I was a kid. So I can talk about that all night as well.
One of my dreams is to host SNL. You're fucking kidding me? I mean,
mine too, buddy. Let's bang it out. Boom.
Yeah. Boom. Awesome.
I just want good seats.
Every year I
don't give a shit who hosted first. I just want good seats.
Every year I have friends that I've even done extra work in SNL, and I'm actually jealous of them as well. Like I have a friend, actually, a good friend of mine. He was an extra for SNL. He got bumped up. He had a line. Nice. He went viral. He had a clip with Leslie. What's her name? Leslie Jones. When she was Omarosa.
Oh, nice. Okay.
On a Weekend Update. He was like the FBI guy that was escorting her off.
Oh, well, nice.
Yeah. So you
guys might beat me up. I know one of the costume designers.
Oh, please. That's the way in. That's the way in. Let me know.
That's the way.
It's
so clicky. So I know a bunch of writers, not necessarily in SNL, but I know a bunch of writers that are trying to get in. I hear about that world. It's just super clingy.
Me too.
Super clicky. Like, you definitely need a huge in to get within that world of SNL. But the wrestling podcast, we got to move on to hear what's trending.
Oh, there's more?
Walter was also making some waves this past week. Wrestle Talk at WrestleTalk_TV. Walter is officially set to move full-time to NXT 2.0 with his final NXT UK opponent being named for next week. That's big news there. He's a staple for NXT UK for as long as NXT UK has been going on for. People have been clamoring for him to go across the pond full-time, and here it is. Fiending for followers at Fiend for Followers. Walter is wrestling his last match at NXT UK. The Royal Rumble is this month. Interesting. Will we see Walter in the Royal Rumble? Can we see a showdown between him and Brock Lesnar in the future, or whoever at this point? I mean, Walter, he's an interesting dude, man. A lot of people they want to see him just skip NXT and go right to the main roster. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the Royal Rumble. You know, the rosters are kind of thin these days, but we knew he was coming to NXT. Talked about many times in the show, NXT UK is the new NXT, being people called up to NXT. So his rightful place is right now where he's supposed to be, with Imperium now, especially on 2.0. So I'm not surprised. Good for him. I'm looking forward to his career here at NXT 2.0. I hear a lot of good things about him. And I see his great match, was it in Stand and Deliver or over the summer for the NXT UK Championship against who the new champion now is. But yeah, good for him. I don't see him going to the main roster right away because I don't think he's that popular. He's very popular at NXT. Another topic we talk about all the time. There's a disconnect between the main roster and NXT fans. So I don't see him going to the main roster right away. Have a nice career in NXT 2.0, and then he'll be in the main roster. But the Royal Rumble, I could definitely see him going into it.
Buddy made a great point. I think he's very popular in NXT. I don't think he has brought in the horizon of the main roster yet, and the Royal Rumble is the best place to do that. We've seen that with NXT stars like Ty Dillinger when he was there.
10?
Now he's Sean Spears, of course, and various other NXT stars. I remember when Bo Dallas was in the Rumble.
Yeah.
You know, so we've seen that. I think the Rumble's the best place to kind of calibrate where his reception is at. I don't see him going in the main roster right away, but Putty made the 100% agree with him. I think the Rumble's going to be where it's at. And he's one of WWE's last in-house wild cards, right?
Yeah.
He can go to NXT 2.0 and breathe fresh life into it and fit in very well. And I think that's the better bet. And then not for nothing, who's to say that he and Braun Breaker won't get into a bomb feud?
Yeah.
And Breaker will hit the main roster first, guys. True. I could see that too.
You know, Braun Breaker is definitely getting a lot of love right now, and I don't think it hurts the fact that Rick Steiner is his father. But you know, Braun Breaker definitely has the best of both worlds between Rick and Scott. Bringing that into the ring, he definitely has. I don't know if he has the it factor, but he has some form of it factor. He definitely has a good foundation there where it can grow to something good here, where he could possibly, dare I say, be like the next John Cena type when he goes to the main roster. But we've said this many times before about different NXT talent, and we've been proven wrong. I mean, you talk about the Royal Rumble. Keith Lee had a big moment in the Royal Rumble where Brock Lesnar kind of put him over in a way. Yep. With the famous, he's a big boy. And, big pop there when Keith Lee went face-to-face with Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. If Walter has a case like that Brock Lesnar's not going to be in the Royal Rumble at this point because he is champion. But, God, insert person here. Drew McIntyre, I don't know, he's injured. God, who would it be?
Braun Breaker.
Big E. I think he's back post-Mania, McIntyre.
Braun Breaker.
So maybe Big E. Walter, I'm talking about Walter at this point going to the Royal Rumble. Wouldn't be because Keith Lee made a big splash. Killer Cross, we also thought was going to be a shoe-in for a main star in the main roster here.
Yeah, but now look who's backing him. There's a new regime.
Do you think the new regime is that going to help? Is Walter going to be the next guy to go up there in the main roster, eventually kick some ass, or is this going to be another flop?
I don't think so. I think
I can't help it. I'm sorry to cut you off. I can't help but think it's going to be another flop because of the fact that we've been having egg on our face so many times with so many call-ups. They were like, oh, this is definitely going to be a big star. This one's going to be a big star. Oh, no, this one's going to be the big star.
Yeah, but there was a disconnect between NXT and the main roster. Now that the main roster heads are taking over NXT, if you're going to get called up to NXT, to the main roster, quote unquote, it's going to be for a reason. Braun Breaker is not going to get lost in the shuffle. Walter's not going to get lost in the shuffle because the guys running the main roster are now also running NXT.
Correct.
Interesting.
And you know what? To be honest with you, the one guy that I think is secure is Ciampa. I think if Ciampa was to come out in the Rumble, get an incredible reception, I think you could see him on Raw or SmackDown a couple days later.
Interesting.
Ciampa doesn't want it, though.
I think he's the next one to go.
He doesn't want to go with the main roster or leave WWE. Release? I think so.
Well, also,
I'm the other way. I think he might stay.
I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I think it was you, Mark. Maybe it might have been a guest host. That Ciampa publicly said he does not want to get called to the main roster.
Right. Many times.
But the person I was talking to,
correct.
The person I was talking to said, "Well, this is a different horse. It's a different time. If your boss is telling you go to the main roster, you get released. He might go to the main roster. I don't see him being a spot for him in the main roster. I see him better being released because he's another Triple H guy.
Yeah, I mean,
take care, comb your hair.
I know it's another Triple H. Do you think? Okay, so going back to Triple H here, you've talked about before, Putty, about there's a rumor of another promotion being bought here. Is it possible that Triple H is seeing what's going on here? Because listen, man, I've seen when you produce something, especially for as long as Triple H has, that's like a baby of yours. And to see it's almost like, hey, I'm not well right now because he had a cardiac incident.
Yeah.
Please, watch after my child. And you see this fucker just trampling on your child, just fucking up your child over and over again, and now your child's dead. Like, that's heartbreaking.
Not only dead, but buried.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
I mean, I mentioned,
if I'm Triple H, I'm feeling a certain way about it. Do you think Triple H would be at that point, like thinking back and he said, like, dude, there's a lot of my boys, a lot of my girls out there, a lot of great talent out there. I got some money. Do you think it's possible that he has his own promotion?
Yes. I mean, what Mark is referencing to a couple weeks ago, we talked about, there was a quote-unquote rumor about Jeff Jarrett starting a new promotion off the topic of us talking about how there's so many talent available, especially with the closure of Ring of Honor, that there is room for another promotion. AEW has proven there is room for another promotion. If I was Triple H, knowing I'm not next in line to take over the E, looking at what I did with NXT Black and Gold, making it a huge third brand of the E, yes, I would leave. Team up with Jeff Jarrett. Triple H and Jeff Jarrett together? Forget about it. Boom,
I mean, could they coexist is a whole other story.
That's a different story. That's true. I would imagine so. But if they can coexist, they got the money, they got the mind behind it. Look at what he did with NXT. Look what Jeff Jarrett did with TNA. Look what he did with Global Force Wrestling.
Triple H has got to be thinking, what's my next move? He's got to be.
He's got to be pissed. Like, what the fuck you guys doing? You taking away my guys? You're destroying my baby.
My baby. Pretty quiet about this. What are your thoughts?
I'm trying to mull it over. I could definitely see Jeff Jarrett make another play at another Fed, especially with the failure of Global Force. I don't know, man. I don't see Triple H turning his back on the McMahons because, guys, it's not a business decision. It becomes personally consequential.
You talking about the fact that he's married into the family?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Of course. I was thinking about that too.
I should clarify. I totally agree with you. I don't see him leaving the E anytime soon. But as soon as Vince sells and he finds out there's no position for him in the company, what allegiance does he have? If Vince is gone.
If it actually does happen, because obviously it's already broken up, WWE tried to sell to Disney and to Fox, in 2018, 19, and 20. I guess the sale of WWE for an inordinate amount of money, whatever it is, would be the crowning achievement of Vince McMahon's legacy.
Hell yeah.
Right.
The problem is, again, there's consequences to it.
I don't see Vince selling, but when he passes, what happens next? But if
what happens next for Triple H, whatnot?
If WWE is sold to Disney or Fox, there's no spot for Triple H in that company.
And you would have to think on if we're talking about personal, going personally, or Vince McMahon passes. I mean, like, you got to think Stephanie McMahon's going to inherit a shitload of money here.
Right.
Yeah, her thing. Yeah, but they won't take over the company though.
Right, but I'm saying, like, who knows? I don't necessarily know where Stephanie McMahon's role would fit if Nick Khan takes over. Her and Triple H would be a package deal here, if you will.
There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors in that too. Who has the most shares?
Right.
What's in Vince's will? There's a lot of denominators.
Didn't think about that. Yeah.
There's a lot of denominators involved, and ultimately, you got to remember, WWE is a publicly traded company. If there's a lot of private investment groups that have shares, and their last name's not McMahon, so it's a topic that alone could be a separate episode.
Oh my God, yeah, for sure. There's so many possibilities here, so many rumors. I can only imagine what Triple H is thinking right now, because, like, dude, I'd definitely be feeling a certain way. And it's got to be a tough spot for him, because, as you mentioned, it is a personal aspect here to it, because he is married to this family, and now you have this schmuck that's whispering in Vince McMahon's ear that's like, dude, is the world against me right now? You got to be thinking something like that. Respect to Triple H for everything he did with NXT. Let's have a moment of silence for the original black and gold NXT, because it is officially dead now.
On that
and
note,
with that,
let's move on to some TV Takedown.
Have to be.
It's time for this week's TV Takedown.
All right, it's time for TV Takedown. Mark, what do you have for me this week?
All right, buddy. So I know a lot has happened in wrestling TV this past week.
A lot.
There's been a lot of momentum building up, but something kind of obscure happened on SmackDown that really caught my eye, that made me really go, what? To the point that it woke up my wife mid-nap. They just dropped the ball here on this, as if it was nothing. Mickie James is coming back to WWE in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, isn't she... And before I could finish that thought, Pat McAfee says it, the Impact Knockout Champion. And I'm like, did Pat McAfee just say that? Then I go on Twitter, because I'm like, did my ears deceive me? And I see it. People talk about it. And I also see it on WWE's Twitter, on their official Twitter page, making mention of Impact, the Knockouts Champion.
Then
it goes on
though.
Impact's.
It was interesting.
It was on Impact's Twitter page as well, talking about Mickie James going to Royal Rumble. So I am very interested in this right now, because we have, well, by the time the show airs, this has already happened, right?
Yeah.
Hard to Kill.
Yep.
Mickie James defends the championship against Deonna Purrazzo.
That's right.
Does Mickie James drop the belt then? Is Mickie James done in Impact?
This is what I'm thinking here. Like, it's a double-edged sword. Like, there's no way.
He's also committed to NWA, don't forget.
True.
Very true.
That's her home fed. There's no way you mention Mickie James being the Impact Knockouts champion without meaning. So either one, she drops it Saturday night to Deonna Purrazzo, which many people assume is going to happen anyway. Or why would you mention it unless she shows up with a championship?
Right. And in which case then, do they bill her?
I'm actually with Putty on that.
There's no sense of mentioning her being a foreign Fed champion, a Fed you guys have not mentioned except these WWE documentaries on the network with the Hardy Boys specifically, and Jeff Jarrett and Sting.
And AJ
Styles, yeah. Those are the only two times it's been mentioned Impact at all. They have a working relationship together. Why mention on your Twitter and Pat McAfee on a network show unless she shows up with that championship?
I thought Pat McAfee just had loose lips, honestly. Because, Pat McAfee does have a lot of freedom.
I thought the same thing, too, until I saw it on the Twitter. I'm like, all right, this is obviously planned.
This is obviously planned. Impact had the same thing.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there's some... Then it made me think, is there the forbidden door? Is this open now between Impact and WWE? Is there some sort of relationship here now? Like, what is going on?
I don't know if
Well,
there's
it's
a
funny you
forbidden.
bring up McAfee having such freedom, because I was the other way. I was like, if he's putting over that she's the knockout champion, whether he has loose lips or not, he's being told that
Yes.
to sell the fact that, oh, someone from another Fed's in the Rumble. Because it's never happened. I mean, you could say, like, there was that brief period where, like, I think, like, CMLL or AAA, remember that? In, like, the 97 Rumble.
Yeah.
They had some of those guys in there. But, like, this is a little bit better and more prominent than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the Knockouts champion, and who was also a former WWE superstar, someone who's definitely Hall of Fame bound.
I also don't think is contracted to Impact, by the way.
That's another question I had. It's going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, like, yeah, I mean,
because also, like,
Impact, by the way, I'm thinking
Impact and WWE do have a working relationship together, going back to the Christian Cage,
very loose,
but going back to the Christian Cage, Ric Flair scenarios from their Hall of Fames, I think like 8 years ago. They have a working relationship with the network and their documentaries, so there is an open door there. But to this is just
it's a major move, and like it does make me think a lot here, like, because yeah, we know Impact tends to be pre-taped, but the pay-per-view is live. The pay-per-view is live.
And are they going head to head with Battle of the Belts, guys?
Yes, they are actually. Yeah,
interesting. So I mean, there is a real chance, because you bring up a good point, because they stressed all around Impact Knockouts champion, Impact Knockouts champion.
Yes.
So
she has to show up with the belt. She has to show up with the fucking belt.
She has to show up with the belt, right?
Maybe mid-ring, stare down with like Charlotte Flair. Maybe they're 1 and 2.
But then how is this booked?
That's the following question.
Is Mickie James going to show up in there kind of like how she was in her last run at WWE, kind of just like an afterthought? Or are they going to build her up back to like the legend that she was back in the early days of WWE and what she is today in the rest of the wrestling world?
That is the million-dollar question,
if she's in the Rumble, it's a surprise entry without the surprise.
Pretty much.
I think you're thinking long-term if she's signed to an agreement, blah, 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 blah. It's I think we should keep it in the wheelhouse of somebody from Impact is going to appear on WWE TV in 2022.
I mean, yeah, that's fact. I'm not necessarily thinking long term. Maybe booked is the wrong way to say it, but like, will she have a strong run in the Rumble? I should say, because I think we all agree here she's not going to win.
No,
there's no way she's going to win. If she does win, that's going to open up a whole other door for sure.
But the way they're hyping it, she should have a strong run at least. You're another Edge champion.
At least Final Four.
I want to go that far, but
and you got to remember too, like, I don't know how many of the women they announced. It had to be at least a dozen.
17. I counted.
15?
17.
17. Well, you figure Beth's going to be in it, right?
Yeah, got to be, right?
NXT call-up. I talked about it a couple years ago. I thought Raquel Gonzalez is going to be in the Rumble sooner rather than later, but I'm assuming because the E doesn't have enough women for 30 women.
No, they don't. They released so many.
You have these legends now, and I'm assuming Raquel Gonzalez is going to get her Rumble appearance sooner than I expected.
I think Faith is going to be in the Rumble from 205 Live, the girl with the big butt.
Okay.
Possibility, yeah.
She'll be in
I mean,
there's still 14 spots left. 14 spots left. Got NXT. And the way they spoiled some surprises here, especially the Bellas and especially Mickie James. Mickie James would have been a huge surprise.
Lita got announced.
Yeah.
Lita got announced too. So Summer Rae got announced. I didn't think she would come back to wrestling. Michelle McCool got announced. I mean,
all surprises. And there's 14 spots available.
In the Rumble, and she's a SmackDown Women's Champion.
Yeah, there's 14 spots available. What surprises are left?
We're not necessarily even talking about that. Charlotte Flair, the women's SmackDown Women's Champion, is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Is this going to be? Is she defending her championship in this, or is this just for her to possibly?
No, she announced it today. If she wins, she gets to pick her challenger at WrestleMania.
She gets to pick a challenger.
She's swapping the caveat of winning.
Interesting.
Well, that's a nice twist, right? I mean, not hopefully in a bad way, because I'm not one of these anti-Charlotte Flair people, but hopefully she doesn't win. But if she does win, the concept of the champion choosing is cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Does she then choose the Raw Women's Champion, whoever it is at that point? Awesome. Because it seems like, because we saw with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar talking about them challenging each other, possible a WrestleMania match, title for title. Are we looking at another possible title unification here between the women's championship and the men's championship? That's what it kind of feels like it's leading up to.
My thoughts, I I love the brand split. Me and Mark Schwann talked about it many times. We disagree on this. But with the current status of the women's roster, I would not be surprised if they unify it because their roster is very weak. I can see a championship going back and forth between both brands here.
I think it makes sense.
So for the men, I'm not sure how I feel about a unification match because I feel the other way about the men's division. While I feel each brand should have a champion because there's just
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
For that. And Roman Reigns has kind of mastered the concept of appearing on television each week, and his matches feel important when they happen because he's on TV each week, but he doesn't wrestle on SmackDown.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
agree with
a great
you, yes.
catapult for like the Usos as singles, as a team, for the New Day as singles, as a team, and many other guys as well. Having said that, from a financial standpoint, it's not that great for them to unify the belts because, guys, they make money out the ass on those replicas.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
No, agreed. I hate it. I understand business pretty well here. I understand the fact that, like, you know, it's a merch pusher. I hate it. I get it. I personally think unification of belts like would make things work.
I'm not justifying it. I'm just explaining to you what their logic is.
No, of course. I mean, it all comes down to the dollar. I mean, literally everything in this world right now comes down to the mighty dollar. So WWE is not excluded from that. You know, personally, I just think it would open things up creatively if they did unify the titles. But it just seems to me that seems like something that they're exploring.
Yeah.
Like very openly on TV right now.
Exploring, yeah.
So I'm going to keep my eye on that. But going back to Mickie James, I'm very intrigued here about her and how this plays out here. I think from a business sense, Impact is going to be paying attention to the numbers on this, on social media and the trends here. Mickie James was trending there for a bit. This is getting a lot of traction. It's getting a lot of steam because it's shocking. It is shocking because fans were not used to seeing this in the wrestling world, especially WWE doesn't play well with others.
This is not AEW announcing this.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
WWE, and they don't play, like Mark just said, well, they're in their own universe.
Exactly. They're in their own universe. They never acknowledge outside of their universe, and at least on their mainstream TV, and now they are.
But
when they've done it, it's been very rare.
Wrestling company, it's a matter of now you're talking about companies and brand supremacies and stars. So that's a different hurt if a New Japan guy lost to a WWE guy, and vice versa. Yeah,
I mean, there is that to think about as well. I think Impact's going to be paying attention to this. I think the numbers may sway them if they weren't necessarily making a decision already about who's winning at Hard to Kill. This may sway them, like, yo, we got to keep the belt on Mickie James right now. To have the Impact Knockouts Championship, not only just on WWE programming, but at the Royal Rumble, one of the 4 staple pay-per-views that WWE has to highlight that. That's going to bring more eyes than AEW ever could at this point, at least.
You have to do it
to Impact's brand. You have to.
I know that when WWE on the network was plugging the Impact streaming service, that increased their numbers.
It did.
I am very, very invested into this right now because I just find it fascinating from a business standpoint and creative. And I'm curious to see, like, you know, if this works out to, like, you know, I'm sure both companies are talking with each other on how to deal with this. If it works out to both of their liking, to see if this leads to any other further developments.
I mean, WWE and Impact do have an open relationship, which I mentioned earlier. Going back to, I think it was Deonna Purrazzo or maybe Britt Baker mentioned, the open door has kind of been excluded to women.
Yeah.
The Impact AEW relationship was just about the men's. It was about Kenny Omega. It was about the Good Brothers. Basically, that was it. So if WWE can take advantage of this, maybe the door opens for that. But again, they have to loosen the reins of them being the WWE Universe and acknowledge former other champions, which they did tonight, which is very surprising to me.
And then would that possibly, not maybe this year, but down the road, open a door between WWE and AEW? Who knows? Like this is a big move.
Huge
hey,
move.
Never say never, but this is a big move. Yeah. So that's why I'm very curious.
Again, Triple H always said he's been open for business, but now he's not.
But that was Triple H. Now we have a new. We have a new sheriff in town.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens there. But that's my TV takedown. That's what I'm looking forward to see here. Cheyenne, what about you, man?
I'm a big fan, like all wrestling fans. I'm a fan of the Road to WrestleMania. It's Mania season. I can't wait. I am looking forward to the outcome of this Mega Powers feud between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar over Miss Elizabeth Paul Heyman.
Well said.
Well said.
It's one of the best, more recent long-term feuds that they've done in a while. It's being done very well, and the fact that it's two guys fighting over a guy is, to me, extremely interesting. And you saw that there was emotion and love involved tonight on SmackDown. I enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to how that plays out. Like so many others, I'm looking forward to what's next for Big E. If anything, originally until tonight's SmackDown, I figured, okay, well, they're not going to do unification, so Roman will screw Brock out of the belt, Big E will win the Rumble, Big E and Lashley at Mania, and that puts you back to Brock and Roman for SmackDown for Mania.
All right.
Okay.
In true reality, there is no, if you look at the roster, the key players in the Rumble are all people that have won. So Big E winning the Rumble and getting a Mania match would be great.
So going along with what you're saying here, though, something did break out today about Seth Rollins. How Seth Rollins was originally supposed to beat Big E for the World Heavyweight Championship here at WWE, and it seems like there was like mixed plans about what would happen at WrestleMania. They possibly Big E winning the Royal Rumble, but they were also open to Bobby Lashley. It seems like they had big plans for Seth Rollins, but now we see Seth Rollins is going to be number one contender to Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. So it seems like when Roman got COVID, it messed up everything for creative here, because now Brock Lesnar, as we saw, he won the World Heavyweight Championship, which makes me think, was he going to be beating Roman Reigns? Don't know. So now that the news broke out about Seth Rollins in that capacity, it makes you now wonder, is Seth Rollins going to beat Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? What's happening at WrestleMania? It seems like Big E is going to be a surefire thing to be at least a favorite to win the Royal Rumble. A lot of moving parts here. I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating, which I enjoy. It opens the door to so many questions, so many possibilities.
I feel like for the first time in a while, like WWE, in both brands, Raw and SmackDown, it's not predictable at this point, especially with the main championships here. So it makes it interesting because Raw is hit or miss, but right now, I mean, this is intriguing. This is very intriguing here.
Yeah. There was a report, me and you, Purdy, read that Big E was going over. You read it was Seth. So clearly there's a possibility of Seth going over, even if it's at the hands of Brock Lesnar.
Exactly, yeah.
Hell, what if they screw each other out of the belt, or one tries to screw each other, one fails, one is successful? There's a lot of variables, and it's the most interesting time of the year, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, but WWE, again, as I've said before, you can love them, you can hate them. The one thing they do consistently well is they'll find a way to hook you in with at least maybe one storyline, and it's enough to make you wonder, I wonder what's going to happen next week.
Yep.
So I bashed Raw quite a bit.
A lot.
SmackDown,
a lot.
SmackDown, I've been pretty much a thumbs up for, but I do find myself tuning in. Okay, Putty, to my credit, do I ever say I'm never watching again?
No, of course not,
I don't,
because you're a smart person.
No, thank you. Yeah, so again, they do a good job with Hook.
My takedown. Thank you for asking. It was hard for me to pick my takedown this week because it was like several. So I'm gonna
It's a busy week.
I'm gonna pretty much put them all together with NXT New Year's Evil, beginning to end. Great show. You had the opening match for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship and the North American Championship, and the main event was for the NXT Championship. Both matches were new guys, young up-and-coming talent against the old veterans, with the new guys going over. That's what you want to do to build a future brand. The new guys taking over. And a lot of guys miss the old NXT, myself included. But as a company standpoint, this is what you want to do to utilize the young talent. You have Braun Breaker, you have Carmelo Hayes as your championships, the face of your brands.
Carmelo Hayes, great talent.
And this is what you want. Of course, you're getting rid of the NXT Black and Gold. Now you're standing alone now because NXT Black and Gold is done. Now NXT quote-unquote 2.0 is just alone. And it just baffles my mind how Braun Breaker wasn't a wrestler a year ago. Look how far he's gone in that year.
Yeah.
He's the face of NXT.
He's a very athletic dude and very charismatic. But do you feel like with Braun Breaker, as much as potential as he has, do you feel like this is too much too soon for him?
I thought it was too much too soon until I realized the NXT roster right now and the way they were pushing him. And this match at New Year's Evil far past their match at Halloween Havoc.
100%.
Great match. You could tell he has experience now because Braun Breaker had five matches on TV. This match showed.
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's got more experience.
Exactly. And this match showed that. And like, all right, now it wasn't viable in October. Now it's viable. Braun Breaker being your new face of NXT 2.0. If you want to watch good matches, watch Braun Breaker, Tommaso Ciampa, watch Carmelo Hayes versus Roderick Strong, because those two matches just were like phenomenal. Then they show you the future main events of Raw and SmackDown. Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes are going to be the future of this business, and these two matches alone on New Year's Evil showed it.
You think so? You think Braun Breaker is the future star? You think he's a future John Cena?
Hell yeah.
You think he's a future?
I co-sign that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah?
I didn't believe it at first. I didn't buy into their match at Halloween Havoc, but this match, knowing the backstage philosophy of NXT, this match showed it. Like, all right,
I'm actually the other way. I believed in him at Halloween Havoc.
Did you? All right, talk about that.
At Halloween Havoc, I was like, I don't know when, but yeah, this guy is going to be a star.
So Braun Breaker's 24 years old. So he is a young chop, man.
He was a football star. He had no wrestling experience until I think a year ago.
Yeah, he was an NFL fullback. Yeah. No, so that's an interesting note right there, because the fact that, I mean, he's so young. He only has 5-6 matches underneath his belt right here. Clearly like a natural in the ring. Like he's grasped it very fast. He definitely has the mind of a sponge. Not necessarily what you think for NFL fullback, but here we are. Braun Breaker, I think it's too early for me to co-sign on this as well. About Braun Breaker being the next John Cena for sure, but Braun Breaker is definitely the next Braun Breaker, and I don't necessarily know how far that will go, but my gut feeling says it's going to go pretty far.
Well, remember, guys, it's baptism by fire, and that's what a lot of wrestling is, and that happened to guys like Orton, like Lesnar, like Cena at the beginning of their careers.
No, absolutely. Like this one, I know, and rightfully so. Like people were raising their eyebrows when WWE said they're closing the door in the Indies, right? That they're going back to their old ways of like building up again. That was these athletes on their own, like have their own performance center. So,
which is also a lucky crowd for NXT if you think about it.
Yeah.
So seeing this, I mean, like we forget because like we fall in love with these indie stars. Like we get to know them. Cheyenne, you definitely know quite a few as well.
Yeah.
Like, it breaks your heart to hear the news about them. But we have to remember, like especially that draft class that WWE had with John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin. Like they weren't indie guys, and you see how well they did. A lot of them, I mean, you see Hall of Famers pretty much, Hall of Fame careers.
They all want to be. I mean, the other thing is too, they all want to be wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
That's WWE. That's the biggest difference. Not that WWE didn't do this 20 years ago, but WWE will take football players, gymnasts, athletes. They'll take athletes from all walks of life versus that Hall of Fame class of Lesnar, Cena, Benjamin, Orton, all those guys, Batista. They wanted to be wrestlers.
I mean, like that's one specific class right there. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime class, pretty much. That's like in the NFL, we had that draft class of Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, that's going to once in like a blue moon that's going to happen. But
I love them on Who's the Boss with Tony Danza.
But like like WWE has had success before in the past like this. We forget that, and I think they're going back to the roots as far as like how that went before, and it seems like that's what they're going here. Braun Breaker will be a great if he's a big hit, then I think WWE will be okay with that. Same with Carmelo Hayes, and Carmelo Hayes, he's an indie guy, isn't he?
I believe so.
Right.
I think they're putting all their eggs in the basket of this new Braun Breaker stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Braun Breaker,
not Braun Breaker. Gable Steveson.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
once he debuts, because they have 16 people already signed to their next in line contract. So if he's a success, they'll have more belief on these other 16 up-and-comers to be success. But we can't believe that until we see that actually happen. So
we need receipts.
Yeah,
we need receipts because not for nothing, Cain Velasquez came in. They thought that was going to be a big deal. That was a flop.
Yeah, I don't think it was his fault too much, but it was a flop.
So
yeah, I'm going to be nice because I didn't see his work in Mexico. But number one, it was a flop. And number two, that was something that I was like, This is not a good idea, and it wasn't.
No, not at all. It was not a good idea at all. Cain Velasquez was not in WWE shape. It was a different world for him. I don't even know like how much his heart was into it. It seemed like it was a money move for him at the very least. I don't know him. Don't know any insiders about that information. That's just what I perceive to be. So that's my truth. So, like, you know, Gable Stevenson, I mean, we'll see. TBD. I mean, it's either going to be a big home run or it's going to be a big miss. I don't think there's going to be any in between with him.
Mark Schwann, like, we've been doing the show for a while now. Like, do you ever get tired of me being right?
What do you mean? Are you talking about Jade Cargill?
Because the beginning of the brackets, I'm like, this is Jade Cargill's match to win. This is her title.
And I wasn't denying you, though. I wasn't denying it.
You kind of denied me. And
no, I did
now
not.
here she is. She's the new TBS champion. I'm like, congratulations to her. A decisive win over Ruby Riott. And I'm looking forward to her future here and what she can do with the mid-card, with the women's division.
I got to say, by the way, at top of that, really cool moment there with her daughter. I feel like I've become such a mushball ever since I found out that I'm going to have a daughter. So
you have
see, yes. It's crazy, man. I don't know who I am anymore. But to see that close up of the shot of the daughter having that smile, that glimmer in her eye, seeing her mom win that championship, like, dude, it brought a tear to my eye. Man.
I was surprised they showed the daughter. Yeah,
that was a cool moment. And whoever had that shot that's going around on Twitter with Jade Cargill with the championship with her daughter holding it nice. At the ramp, that was a cool moment.
That was a good photo at the top of the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was awesome.
So excluding her daughter here, did the right woman win here?
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jake, you were right in the sense that this was made for Jade Cargill. They announced it today, like, because there were reactions about the whole Big Swole thing that was going on. Like, was this a reaction to Big Swole's comments? But apparently, this
was planned.
Day one.
It was not time, right?
Yeah.
This is planned from the beginning of the tournament. This, as Putty had said very early on, this whole thing's designed for her to win.
Who else would win the championship but her? Because she's undefeated. She's in the finals. What better final opponent against Ruby Soho? But boom.
I agreed with you. Like, I remember my initial pick was just to play devil's advocate here because, like, you know, what fun would the show would this be if we all agreed with each other?
Touché.
I said Chris Statlander, and I had good proof. I had good points to make about that. But in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, Putty's right, man. Jade Cargill all the way.
Good for her, man.
Good for her. And honestly, good for AEW cracking 1 million this week. I feel like they opened up 2022 very strong. So, side note, before SmackDown happened with the whole Mickie James announcement, I was going to say I'm looking forward to see what AEW does in general this year, 2022, because they open up the year strong, and I want to see how much they grow because I feel like each year so far they've been growing. So I'm very much looking forward to see what they do next.
I have two things I'm looking forward to. Is this the last year that we see WrestleMania at 2 nights? Because in theory, if we're unifying titles and possibly brands, ultimately, why do we need 2 nights of WrestleMania? So number one,
but the title unifications never last long.
Hold on. The second thing I'm looking forward to, which I feel is eminent for this year, AEW announces a new pay-per-view in their calendar.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please. Agreed. I'm in for that. Going with what you were originally saying about WrestleMania 2 nights, I think going back to the whole money cow thing, I think they can milk more money off the 2 nights thing. They're going to see that. They're going to recognize that, and they're going to go along with it. If anything we've seen before with title unifications in the past, they don't even last a year.
Also
they really don't. I can't remember the last time when it lasted longer than that. So I'm going to say, yeah, we'll see title unifications this year, possibly. I don't think it'll last long, and I think we'll see WrestleMania 2 nights being a sure thing going forward.
Hey, what if they're not unified and then Brock or Roman or whoever just got to defend the belts twice? Who's to say that's not an option? Let's end it on that.
I feel like, hey, the one thing that we know is true for wrestling, you never say never.
Totally agree, Mark. Never say never, especially when it comes to the wrestling industry. And, of course, babies. Never say never to you. Congratulations. When's the baby due?
May 8th, man.
Can't wait.
That's when my life is going to change forever.
Yeah, as a godfather, my life will change as well. Can't wait. Cheyenne, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a blast. Believe it or not, this was only my second podcast interview ever. I used to be a podcaster, so I'm not used to being a guest. This was a great experience.
Dude, man, it was awesome having you on, bro. And like, you know, like, especially you have a similar background with us. You've been in the game longer. We definitely want to talk more about that as well, about you being a commentator and whatnot.
This April makes 8 years. Oh, excuse me, this May.
8 years you've been in this.
Yeah.
So like I feel like we're rookies in the game comparatively. We only done like what, 1 year, Punny?
Commentating, yeah, 1 year.
Any advice you would give to young commentators? Like, what would you give?
Well, I said this on the first podcast that I was on because I find this to be a common problem, not with wrestlers, not with performers. I am finding this to be a problem specifically right now with commentators. Not so much ring announcers. They kind of have the same problem. Take this advice as you will. Jim Ross already exists. Michael Cole already exists. Be the first you.
Yeah.
Be the first you. And I say that because there's some commentators out there that I am seeing that they are blatantly being the commentators that they love and grew up on. And that's great to have that formula and that base. But ultimately, you have to make it your own. Quick background on me. I have been commentating since I was 13 years old. I started as a backyard guy. I can actually say that I called a PNP match when they were rookies as backyarders, and I called one when they were professionals. And I'm probably
that's wild.
And I'm probably the only commentator that could say that. And because I was keeping track, until last year, I called more Sonny Kiss matches than JR and Tony Schiavone.
Fucking love Sonny Kiss, by the way. Shout out to Sonny Kiss.
People in the world. Be the first you. I am a big believer in dressing for the job you want. Dress like a commentator. Dress like a sportscaster. If I say that, it's going to be like a blatant shot and it's going to get misconstrued, and I don't got time for that. Dress like a commentator. Plus, I don't give a shit. I'll gladly shoot back at them. But Dress like a commentator. Dress like a professional. Mind your cadence. Mind your delivery. Mind your enunciation. I'm from New York City. I'm from the Lower East Side. I'm from the 6th borough. So there is just as much hood rat in me as there is professionalism. So I have to make sure that I am speaking clearly because, my ghetto comes out too. I'm like a male Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? So I try to make sure that I sound as clear as possible when I'm talking. Bulk up your vocabulary. There's a reason that WWE would rather hire somebody from Fox News before an indie commentator. And part of that, besides the fact that they have television experience and we don't, is because of the fact that they sound smarter than the audience.
No, facts.
The smartest person that you get to hear every week is Jimmy Smits and Michael Cole.
Yep.
I would also go ahead, and I might get hate for this too, but I would go ahead and say Corey Graves because his vocabulary is spot on. Like my wife is an English teacher, she'll look up and what did you just say? That's damn good vocabulary right there.
He has the greatest vocabulary of any color commentator ever. Period.
In any sport.
Any sport. If you look up and then if you just icebox that to wrestling, if you look up Heenan, if you look up Ventura, if you were to look up Mark Madden has a great vocabulary.
True.
Don West, he wasn't really a heel, but he had a good vocabulary. Same with Mike Tenay. Josh Matthews has a dope vocabulary, but when he was
doesn't get enough credit.
One of my favorites.
But when he was heel, he wasn't really playing a heel. He was playing a character.
He was weird,
so I can't count that. It was weird. Matt Stryker, obviously great vocabulary. Plus, it's him in real life. Matt's a great dude too.
Yes.
Bump up your vocabulary. When you are, I'm not going to say I've never done this before because that would be a lie, but I don't do it. I don't live and die by it like some of these other guys. When you're on commentary, you don't pop the boys. When you're on commentary, you're telling stories. You're trying to solicit a reaction out of the audience. I very much stand by the ring is the music, you are the lyric.
Oh, I like that line a lot.
Yeah.
I very much stand by that. You don't have to know every wrestling move ever known to man. Nobody ever does. But
I remember you were in your head about that at first with the moves.
Still am, yes.
And we were telling you, man.
To hear Matt Stryker, I hear Corey Graves, I hear Jimmy Smits calling these moves. I'm like, what the fuck was that? What move is this?
Well, I tell you what, it's okay if you don't know it, because ultimately, I love Jimmy Smith. He's an MMA guy. He's going to see a move that he has no idea what it is at some point. But what I'm getting at is it's okay to not know it. It's not okay to act like it.
Well said.
There are other ways. There are other ways of telling a story besides saying this is black, this is white, this is a mug, this is a drinking receptacle, this is a cup, this is a stein, this is not biodegradable, this is ceramic. You know, like, there are other words. The English language is filled with a tremendous amount of words.
So and we just got to utilize it.
Yeah. So, there are people who will tell you that, one day we'll hang out in person and, there'll be a certain crowd and they'll be like, Cheyenne, tell this story, tell that story. You got to know how to tell stories.
True.
That's one thing I remember. Like, when I first started commenting, I was just like kind of like thrown in, right? I was right before, like legit right before a show to replace someone. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm a perfectionist. So I was asking a million questions. I wound up falling in love with it like right away. And so I started like, researching more, really paying attention to commentary, like old stuff. And I noticed that one of the great things about Jim Ross is that he was able to sell the emotion, and not even just a story, but like they'll elicit the emotion out of you. Like it was an old clip of Kane, right? Coming down. I was like making its rounds on Twitter for whatever reason, coming down to face Eric Bischoff. And at that point, I didn't remember what was going on, but Jim Ross, the way he was selling it, the way he was, it was just made me feel a certain way. Like, I forgot what the fuck's going on, but I want to see Kane absolutely kick his ass right now because that's what Jim Ross is doing. And then also made me remember too what you were talking about Paul Heyman talking. I think it was on Broken Skulls about if Mark Henry's finisher is like a headlock, it's our job to sell the fuck out of that headlock to make it the most devastating move that we've ever seen in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's the role of a commentator. And to touch on your point, the biggest thing that if anyone could take away from this, that I learned like later on, right before the pandemic, before things shut down, that I really wanted to put more into was the fact that be yourself, be the first you. Because I felt like at one point I was kind of falling a trap of being like, not necessarily Corey Graves, but being a Corey Graves type on commentary. And I was just like, that's not fully me, to be more me, because Corey Graves already exists. I have a similar style to him, but like I could still make things my own. Like I am me. So like that was something I wanted to a bit more into. Then unfortunately COVID happened.
Right. Yeah. No. And I tell you, and I'm a big believer of practice. I'm a big practitioner of practice. And I said this on the previous podcast I call at least one wrestling match a night. Obviously not on television, but I practice my craft.
That is awesome. That was advice that was given to us.
I was taught, if you want to do this, you do this. You don't play at this. And when it comes to commentary, I don't play.
Cheyenne. They call you the voice for a reason. And Cheyenne, I hope one day we could do commentary together. At least beforehand, maybe do some drinks live in person. Karaoke. At a bar somewhere, karaoke. I don't care.
I hope before the BCW show, we all get together and get to trade notes and swap and hang out. I can't thank you guys enough for having me, guys. Check me out on Linktree. That's linktree.com/Cheyenne the Voice, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cheyenne the Voice, for all your unboxing and wrestling matches and all types of content that I have coming to you this month. Now that I am potentially COVID free.
Boom, there it is. Boom. And guys, you can find me at yourfavoriteactor.com. Shot of Wrestling is now officially on there as well, so you can take a look at any upcoming episodes. Hollywood's Corner is on there as well, all my interview segments. So take a look at that, and all my social media links are on there as well. Again, that's yourfavoriteactor.com.
We are in the now that we're in the new year, we're in the shadow of our 6th-year anniversary. We would not be here if it wasn't for you guys listening. So thank you for the support. Thank you for listening. Please hit us up on our social media, Shot of Wrestling, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, inbox at shotofwrestling.com if you want to have your comments, questions, concerns, what we can do better, what Fed you want to hear us, what indie star you want to hear Mark Schwann interview in Hollywood's Corner. please let us know, because we're focused on here in the East Coast. But there could be a guy in the Midwest, Southwest, East Coast, West Coast, I'm sorry. We want to hear from, so let us know.
I got a request. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're not.
Well, not really, because it's beneficial to the talent.
Okay.
But I want to put a request in.
Go for it.
Go for it.
A little selfish, and when you hear the name, you'll know why. You got to get Jordan Blue from the West Coast.
Mark Schwann, there you go, buddy.
All right. I'll reach out.
Jordan Blue from the West Coast, probably from a women's perspective, in the last 3 years, has gotten so much popularity. She debuted right before COVID, right before lockdown. And she's like my WCE, so I'll listen like 80 times if you get her on.
Dude, no joke, man. I've been following her. I see what she's doing. She's been crushing it.
So that's what I like about the show, because
I'm a married man. I would love to interview her. I would love to have her on. So yeah, for sure, man. Jordan, you're listening, man. Let's have you on. I'm just going to reach out and see.
That's why I like saying that on the show, because we are focused to here in the tri-state area, and when we guest on the show, they know somebody we don't. So that is an example of what we want on the show. So look forward to Mark Schwann getting in touch with her, and hopefully we'll get her on. But we would not be here for people listening, so thank you for being a friend. So for Mark Schwann, for Cheyenne, I have been your host at Multiply. Until next week, buddy out.
Thank you for being a friend.